Hi, Neil Kingham here, and in this video we're going to be talking about ginger. Very easy herb to get, very easy herb to use, but fantastic medicinal effect, and something that really should be in all of our kind of home remedy arsenals. Now, in Chinese medicine, ginger is kind of counted twice, because fresh ginger and dried ginger are completely different, not completely different, but very different in their effects, and actually really counted as two different herbs. So in Chinese, fresh ginger is shengjiang, sheng just means fresh, and dried ginger is ganjiang, and gan just means dried. So although they're the exact same thing, they affect the body very differently. So it's worth understanding the difference between the two, when to use one and when to use the other. Broadly, they affect the digestive system mainly, and also the lung, but super useful, and particularly I'd say fresh, also very good for keeping coughs, colds, flus and viruses at bay. So let's have a look at them in a bit more detail. We'll start with the fresh ginger. So this is shengjiang in Chinese, and this is just the common or garden fresh ginger that you'd buy in your local supermarket or greengrocers, which we're all familiar with, that very common in Chinese cooking. So the thing with fresh ginger is it's really good for regulating the digestion and also for treating nausea and vomiting. So for any kind of digestive upsets, be it bloating or any kind of discomfort, as I said, nausea, vomiting, really, really useful. It just has this kind of settling and balancing effect on the digestive system. For nausea, I would particularly recommend combining it with the Chen-Pi, the tangerine pill. And if you don't know about that, you can watch my last video, which talks about Chen-Pi. The two of those together are very good. And it's very easy to use. You can, of course, put it into cooking however you like, but the most effective and kind of easiest way is just to make a tea. And it's as simple as get your piece of ginger, slice maybe, and this is quite a big chunk, so maybe 2 slices like this, or 3 or 4 if it's a smaller piece. No need to even peel it, you can if you like, but I normally don't bother, just slice right through with the peel on as well. Stick it in a mug. Pour your boiling water on, just leave it to steep, and you'll find you get quite a gingery flavour from that. And that's a really good way of taking it regularly. You can put it in a little bit of honey or something if you need to, but it's good just on its own. And it has a really nice settling effect on the stomach. But one other really useful thing is, as I mentioned, it has an effect that in Chinese medicine is called releasing the exterior. And the concept is that a cold or a virus is something out there, it's something in the exterior, something in the world around us, and that it invades us, and we essentially have a battle. We try and fight off the invader. And this is the Chinese sort of explanation of the immune system. And what ginger does is it helps us do that, and it does it by just gently promoting a sweat. And it's really important if you're contracting some kind of cold or virus, flu or whatever, that you're able to push outwards, and you do that by sweating a little bit. And ginger does that. Ginger will encourage you just to have a little mild sweat and push out the invader. It's going to work best at the very beginning. So what I always recommend, and what I do for myself, is as soon as you start to feel that sense, that a little bit snuffly, or you feel like, or maybe I'm fighting something off, soon as you notice that, that's when you have your ginger tea. And you can have, throughout a day, you can have a number of mugs of ginger tea. It's perfectly fine to have a reasonable amount of. Really good for that, so great in the winter or around cold and flu season. One of my teachers, actually, Dr. Feng in Beijing, he has the habit in the winter, he takes some fresh ginger and he just has a little chunk and he just kind of keeps it in his cheek and just sort of chews on it throughout the day to get the juice for exactly that effect. When he's in clinic seeing lots of ill people, it's a great way for him to keep his immunity up and keep colds at bay. That's probably a little bit extreme for most people, but the ginger tea works really probably just as well. So that's fresh ginger. Now in comparison, the dried ginger, quite different. So dried ginger, when it's sold for use in Chinese herbal formulas, normally comes like this. It's just a slice of fresh ginger that's been dried. You're probably much more familiar with it in this kind of format for cooking it, which is, of course, the same stuff, only powdered. Doesn't matter which you use, they're all just as good. And do bear in mind as well, if you buy a tea bag, a ginger tea that comes in a tea bag, then of course that will be dried as well. So that's another really easy way of doing it. Just go out and buy yourself some ginger tea bags. Now you can probably tell, even just by the flavour, dried ginger and fresh ginger taste completely different. And the thing with dried ginger is it's much spicier. Fresh ginger is a little spicy, but dried ginger really has that kind of spicy flavour in the mouth. And I guess in a way that kind of reflects the difference. It doesn't have the same effect on nausea. So I often see people trying to do things like eat ginger biscuits if they feel nauseous, and that's probably not going to work because it's dried ginger. So you want fresh ginger for the nausea. Also, dried ginger doesn't have this exterior effect. It doesn't really have any effect on releasing the exterior and getting rid of a cold, flu or virus. So what does it do? Well, it's much more warming. So the sort of people who benefit from dried ginger are the sort of people whose hands and feet are always cold, poor circulation, and the sort of people who are just always cold. If you're the sort of person who you're always wearing a jumper when everyone around you's in a t-shirt, and you go around closing windows and turning the thermostat, the temperature up a little bit, everyone else is doing the opposite, then if you have that kind of systemic cold, which in Chinese medicine would be a yang deficiency, that's where your dried ginger is perfect, because it has this real lovely interior warming effect. And again, you can use it quite regularly. So really, you could have a tea or use it in cooking every day, or maybe put some in your porridge in the morning or something like that. And over time, it will help to just warm you up a little bit, get your circulation going. Also good for digestive problems, but only when accompanied by this cold. This is the thing. Ginger is good for someone who's cold and has a deficiency, so a more weak cold person, a yang deficient person. Now it follows that the opposite is also true. So if you're always hot, maybe you've got a red face, or you tend to sweat a little bit more, and you're always wearing a t-shirt when other people are wearing jumpers and so on, then the dried ginger is going to be a little bit too warming probably for you. Now of course, I'm not saying you shouldn't have it at all. It's always good to have a balance and a variety of different herbs and of course different things in your diet. So don't feel like you should never have it, but it wouldn't suit you in that case if you're a hot person to have it regularly in a sort of medicinal way. If you think to yourself, well, my digestion's not very good, for instance, I should have ginger, and you're having dried ginger every day, then it's going to overheat you. So dried ginger for the cold people, and fresh ginger for almost everyone, I would say. It has such a nice effect on the stomach. I include it in an awful lot of different things. I always put a couple of slices in when I'm making a bone broth. I sometimes drink ginger tea, as I said. If I feel at all nauseous ever, that's my absolute first go-to is some ginger tea. And as I say, in the winter, as a preventative to keep colds and flu at bay. So when might you not want to use this one, the fresh ginger? I would say because it's going to produce a little bit of a sweat. The time not to use it might be if you're already excessively sweating. And that could be because of an illness, or it could just be because that's you. Some people just sweat a lot. And in that case, the sweat-promoting effect of ginger might be too much. in a Chinese herbal formula, you could use it and it would be balanced by some other herbs, but to use on its own, I'd say that's probably the only time really that it wouldn't be so good. On the whole, really useful herb to incorporate just into your kind of daily practice, really, a daily diet, I should say. So that's ginger, super useful. Something, I mean, I always have some fresh ginger, well, and in fact dried ginger too, at home. Use it a lot in cooking, and just part of my overall kind of health maintenance routine, and something I recommend that you do too. Hope you've enjoyed this. Do please let me know what you think, and stay tuned for the next episode. We'll be looking at some more useful herbs for home remedies. Take care.